See, in second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the last portion of the second chapter, where the Jnani Lakshanam is presented, the definition of a Jnani is presented, and there also this fact is revealed very clearly, because the fact cannot be different. Wherever the fact is revealed, the same fact must be there everywhere. So what is the fact? The fact about the wise person is he has the vision of the reality. He has the vision of the realities, means he does not lose sight of the reality. Through Shravanam and there followed by Mananam and again through Nididhyasanam, when this person has clear, doubt-free, ascertained vision of the reality, and he continues to have that vision, means he never loses sight of the vision of the reality. This is the beauty. It's like the simple people who are watching the play being enacted, and they can be engrossed in the enjoyment of the different characters playing their roles, but they may not see the light at all. They may not even pay the attention to the light at all. Whereas, if there is a wise person, he may watch all the entire play, he may watch all the characters, all the moments, the whole show he may be watching, but in all he will see the changelessly remaining light in all the changing scenes of the play. He does not lose sight of the changeless, unmoving light in all the changing scenes, in all the movement of all the actors. Like that here also, this wise person who is very clear about his Swarupam being consciousness. He knows there's Atma and Anatma, and including even the Ahankaraha. Ahankara, what is Ahankara here? Even Ahankaraha, the knowledge I am, is also what? Anatma. The knowledge I am is also Anatma here. So the mind is Anatma, sense organs are Anatma, powers of organs of actions, even the body, everything is Anatma, and all these movements, activities are all on the part of the Anatma, but Anatma which cannot even exist independently. Where is the question of performing actions, being active without the blessings of consciousness, Atma? And here the Atma, it absolutely real. And Anatma, therefore here which should be taken as the Aham here. Therefore for him the intrinsic nature of the individual, the Swarupam of the individual is the consciousness. And this consciousness happens to be one and the same. There is no second reality other than this consciousness. This consciousness being the truth of the whole also is very clear. And this consciousness is Swarupam of Ishvara, Swarupam of Avataraha. Swarupam of one's own self. Therefore, such a person is definitely free from the notion, all wrong notions. So there itself we saw this person is not dependent. Such a person is already reveling in fullness. Nirevil Tilekkindravan. So he revels in fullness, he revels in happiness. He revels in the knowledge of the vision of the fullness being the very Swarupam. And such a person need not do any actions for his happiness. He need not depend upon anything external for his happiness. He is not dependent on the karma. He need not perform actions for his happiness. He is not dependent on the the fulfillment of desires. He's free from the very desires. He's not dependent on the fruits of actions also for his happiness. Therefore, the anxiety is possible only if the person is dependent on the fruits of actions for his happiness. The worry is possible only if he is dependent on actions and the fulfillment of desires, fulfillment of actions for his happiness. And this person for whom Swarupam is happiness, Swarupam is fullness, he is independent. Okay, the dependence, unless and until you discover your own Swarupam being happiness, you are helplessly dependent. If you discover your Swarupam being fullness, and you are independent. So dependence and independence is dependent on knowledge, isn't it? Therefore, that's why here it is said again, that already said in the second chapter, we read so many verses. The same words, Nirashihi, is not a new word. I am not repeating, Krishna himself is repeating. Yes, Nirashihi, the word comes again and again. So Nirashihi. And one thing, here in this context, he makes it two, this Atma, Anatma Vivekaha, Deha, Dehi Vivekaha, is it? What is Dehi? What is Dehaha? What is Atma? What is Anatma? What is Aham? What is Non-Aham? Isn't it? Non-I. What is non-self? This Vivekaha, this discriminative knowledge, helps him remain objective. Therefore, this person is independent, free person. There is no freedom other than being, free from emotional dependence. Freedom means freedom from emotional dependence. Being dependent on the karma or karma phalam or a situation for your happiness is, in fact, bondage. Dependence is bondage. Isn't it? So freedom, it's called emotional dependence. And the freedom from emotional dependence is independence, freedom. There's no other freedom. That is why the freedom is in correction of the wrong notions. And correction of the wrong notions you have about yourself is dependent on the knowledge. It's a good question she asked me just now. She came and told me, Swamiji, it's very nice to hear, but I don't want to say I'm a pure person. I know I'm not pure. So innocently she came and told me, one word I'm saying is also very good. It is not simply telling oneself, I am pure, I am pure, I am pure self, I have no doership, I have no enjoyership, I am not the doer, I am not the doer, I am not the enjoyer. It's not simply mechanically prattling to yourself. It is a understanding. It's a cognitive shift, which means you must really see what the self is. Then, if you know what the self is, in the wake of knowledge of the self being nothing but consciousness, you understand the nature of consciousness being actionlessness. Isn't it? Then you understand consciousness is free from. Consciousness is not the enjoyer, consciousness is not the doer. When you understand, you are free from the notion that you are the doer, you are the enjoyer. It is the jnanam. It is not simply saying to oneself, that I'm not this, I'm not this. It is clear understanding. Therefore, that's what he says, it's the jnanam. All that you want is jnanam. So Krishna repeats, what does he say now? Don't give Arjuna actions. If you give up actions, it's a problem. Giving up actions is not possible, it is not practical, it is not appropriate also. Therefore, giving up actions will make you only lazy and idle. Actually, what you need is jnanam, Arjuna. Your karma is not responsible for your unhappiness. Poor karma. Any action you do, how can the action bring unhappiness to you? Action cannot really cause any sorrow or worry or anxiety in you, in your personality. It is not the action. It is the wrong notion you have about yourself. It is the ignorance of your own Swarupam being fullness, being identical with Paramatma. It is this ignorance which is the root cause of your unhappiness. Therefore, Arjuna, do not give up. Even as a sannyasi also, one who lives a life of, one who lived a life of sannyasa and became a jnani, even that jnani, tyakta sarva parigraha, one who is free from all sense of possession, one who is free from all possessiveness, and one who is free from all desires, one who is free from all wishes, and such a person, this person, shariram karma kevalam kurvan. Even the sannyasi has no obligated duties or whatsoever. Still, as a sannyasi, he has to do some physical activities, and doing these physical activities also, he does not attract any punya papam. He is free not because he has no punya papam means what? He is free from the notion that I am the enjoyer. Performing actions, he is free from enjoyership. Performing actions, he is free from doership. Now, Krishna continues in the following verses. Okay. Again, all these verses, as I said, 22 and the 22nd verse, 3rd, 4th, all these verses discuss only about a grihastha jnani, a householder jnani. Yadrichalabha santushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddhavasiddhau cha kritvapi na nibadhyate yadrichalabha santushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddhavasiddhau cha kritvapi na nibadhyate. So here, yadricha labha santushtaha, the wise person who is still a grihastha, who is still a householder, who is still involved in all the household activities, such a person, santushtaha, absolutely satisfied. The satisfaction is not because he feels enough with whatever it comes, because he is not dependent on what comes for his happiness. So, yadricha labha santushta. Yadricha labha means unexpectedly whatever comes to him, whatever he has. Understand? There's no expectation on his part, because there's no desire on his part, there's no anxiety on him, because he's not dependent on anything, any fulfillment. He does not need to fulfill anything, accomplish anything for his happiness. Therefore, whatever he gets also, there is happiness for him. The happiness is not because he is happy with whatever he has, because he is very lazy, whatever comes okay. Not that way. It's not, contentment is not because of whatever, he's not dependent on whatever comes. Already his swarupam is contentment. The person who is not dependent on anything which comes to him for his happiness is satisfied with whatever comes. Okay, which means little comes also he is happy, more comes also he is happy. Understand? Whatever comes he is happy with that. Which means nothing can make him unhappy. What comes cannot make him happy. What does not come cannot make him unhappy also. You understand what I'm saying? which means nothing can cause unhappiness to him. Suppose failure comes, still okay for him. No way. Don't think wise people don't have any failures. There is no absolute failure for anybody. Understand? If at all there is a failure, there is only relative failure. For a wise person who is absolutely successful, if at all there are failures, those failures are only relative failures. Understand? Which means even those relative failure is only for an ajnani, not for a jnani. If you are dependent on external accomplishment for your happiness, then if you are not accomplished, then if you think it is a failure, then it is a failure for you. But for the person who is already a person of fulfillment, who revels in fullness, revels in happiness, who is not dependent on any accomplishment for his happiness, there is no failure at all. A wise person, his wisdom is the absolute success, and therefore that is his fullness. Understand? Therefore, he is not dependent on the external gain for his happiness. For whatever he gains, success comes, failure comes, loss comes, gain comes, whatever comes, puttu comes, idiyappam comes, whatever comes, there is only happiness. Means the happiness is not dependent on what he gains or what he does not gain. Therefore, yadricha labha santushtaha. Then dvandva atitaha. Dvandva atitaha. Dvandva atitaha, again, the dvandvaha, one who is free from all paths of opposites. Irumaigalai kadandavan. In Tamil we say this word. Dvandvaha means, dvandvam itself means what? The dvandvaha, a pair of opposites. Like if there is labha, then alabha. Gain, loss, gain. Success, failure. Honor, dishonor. Victory, defeat. Honor, dishonor, like this, we have these pairs of opposites, and life will be full of these pairs of opposites. The wise person, whatever comes, because yadrucha labha santushtaha, such a person, for him, he is free from all pairs of opposites. Means a desirable situation cannot make him happy. How can happiness be made happy? How can fullness be made full? Nirevai nirevakka mudiyuma. Is it? How can limitlessness be made limitless? It's already limitless. It need not be made, cannot be made. Isn't already fullness, already happiness, already contentment, which is the swarupam. Therefore here, dvandva atitaha means here, the desirable situation, pleasure, etc. cannot make him happy, cannot elate the moods, and nor can he become deject, not can anything deject his, cause a dejection also on his part, which means the undesirable situation cannot make him unhappy also. So the not becoming happy or unhappy, not becoming dejected or elated, remaining the same in all situations is also what? Being free from these paths of opposites. I told you that the karma yogi, who is making efforts to remain the same in all situations, is also balanced. He is relatively balanced. Because of his proper attitude, he makes efforts to see whatever comes in life is prasada and determined by natural laws. Therefore, it's all gifts from Bhagavan, and I cannot change them. They come and go. They are impermanent. Agama apayanaha anityaha, etc. He understands, and seeing it as prasadam, I am living this life to discover the everlasting happiness. These pains and pleasures come and go in this life with all this understanding, and he learns to endure them with the patience, and he sees them as both he remains the same in all situations. As a karma yogi, that is called what now? Relatively being free from pairs of opposites. But a jnani is absolutely free from pairs of opposites. The dvandva atitaha. There we nirdvandvaha. Nirdvandvo nitya santushtaha. We saw already. And this word here, dvandva atitaha. Same words. Don't think Swami is repeating here. Krishna is repeating all these words. Nirdvandvaha. Already we heard that word. Now we are learning what now? Dvandva atitaha. One who is free from pairs of opposites, who does not have failure, who does not have success also. If success comes, he will not say, I am successful. I am successful. He will not say, no, I am a failure. He will not think he has failure. He will not think he has become successful. He will not think I am honored. I feel honored. I am honored. He will not say, I am not honored also. He will not say that. Which means there is no, for him the aham is resolved in Paramatma. For him the I sense is resolved in consciousness. I sense has been cognitively shifted from the body, mind, sense complex, resolved in consciousness. For him, his swarupam is Bhagavad Swarupam. Therefore, he knows there's no failure for Atma. There's no success for Atma. Atma is the swarupam of success, swarupam of failure. Without Atma, there's no success, there's no failure. There's no loss, there's no gain. There's no defeat, there's no victory. But Atma itself has no failure, no victory, Atma has no heat, no cold, no loss, no gain, no honor, no dishonor. Isn't Atma is free from all the dvandvas. The one for whom his self is consciousness, and for whom the self is consciousness, the meaning of the I is consciousness, not the body, mind, and complex, that person also is absolutely free from all pairs of opposites. It is all that you want is ascertained doubt-free vision of the self being identical with Paramatma, isn't it? So here he is, dvandva atitaha. Does he go, dvandvas are sitting, does he walk beyond dvandvas or what? No. Dvandva atitaha means one who is free from ellavattum kadandavan. What does it mean? One who is free from. Understand? I can see it is like saying, the space here is Maik atitaha. Akashaha Maik atitaha. Akashaha orange color atitaha. Look at this, understand. It's a simple example, even she is understanding. Akashaha orange color atitaha. Space is free from orange color. The space is free from this mic. Space is free from all these physical forms which are seated here. Space is free from all these things which exist in space. What does it mean? In this space alone, the color is. In this space alone, the colorful objects are. In this space alone, all these, isn't it? All these things exist. But even though all these objects exist in space, can you say space has the mic? Can you say, is this expression right? Space is having the mic. Is the space possessor of the mic? Space is the accommodator of the mic, isn't it? In space, the mic exists. But space is not the possessor of the mic. Is it clear? Space is free from mic. Space and mic cannot be physically distanced. Wherever the mic goes, it has to go only in space. No, I don't want the mic to be here. Now let me carry this mic from this place to that place. If I take this mic to that place, there won't be space. No. There is no place where space is not. Understand? Wherever this mic goes, the mic has to be moving in space. The mic has to staying in space. Mic has to dancing if it all happens to dance. Okay, whatever happens to the mic, it has to happen in space. But mic is free from space is free from mic. Space is free from mic. This object. Is it clear now? Space is free from this color. Space is free from all these colors. Space is free from all these objects existing in color. So space is not the possessor of the objects exist in space. Free, it's called Atita. Is it clear now? Now you can say, this is called Atita. See, here also, all these success, failure, loss, gain, defeat, victory, pain, pleasure, all these parts of opposites are experiences which exist in consciousness. But consciousness does not have failure. Atma, the consciousness, does not have failure, does not have success, does not have loss or gain. It's called what now? Being free from all parts of opposites. If you really understand, if a wise person is the one who knows very clearly, there is no substance other than consciousness of the substantive I. There is no substance. For the substantive wave, water is the substance. For the substantive I, consciousness is the substance. And consciousness is free. I am consciousness, distinct but non-distanceable from the body, mind, sense complex. Non-distanceable from the experiences, the states of mind. But at the same time, free from parts of opposites. எனக்கு கஷ்டம் வந்துடுச்சு, எனக்கு சந்தோஷம், எனக்கு துக்கம், எனக்கு நிம்மதி இல்லை, எனக்கு, we always say, for me, I have pain, I am successful, I am a failure, I go through, isn't it? I means, which means you become the possessor of all those things. You have them, I have. We say this, I have. Therefore, here there is no possessor-possessed connection is not there. Between the space and the object existing in space. Similarly, between Atma and all these parts of opposites, there is no possessor-possessed connection. Understand? The Atma is free from all these parts of opposites. This is what is said as, he mentioned as here, Dvandva Atitaha. And therefore, the one who knows the nature of the Atma is also Dvandva Atita. Wise person is free from all parts of opposites. He's not talking about the Atma, he's talking about the wise person for whom Atma is free from parts of opposites, isn't it? Atma Swarupam is his Swarupam. Atma is his Swarupam. So, Dvandva Atitaha Vimatsaraha. Vimatsaraha. Vimatsaraha means Matsarya Rahitaha. Vimatsaraha. Shankara says Nirvaira Buddhihi. Now, Matsaryam means jealousy, envy. And also the attitude of the enmity. entertainment of enmity also, isn't it? So Matsaryam, the jealousy or envy, is possible only if you are dependent on, only if you, when you compare yourself with others. If other person has something what you do not have, it is possible for you to be jealous of the other person. What you want to have, other person has, then you can be jealous of the person. Sometimes you become very, you become very unhappy if other person also has what you have. Isn't it? Because you are not the only possessor of something. Sometimes, no. So if other person enjoys what I don't have also, I'm jealous. I don't want anybody else to have what I have. That also makes me unhappy, isn't it? This Matsaryam. And here, Vimatsaraha. This person is completely free from Matsaryam. Why? Nothing can cause. Because it's whenever, one more thing I have to tell you here, if other person enjoys anything praiseworthy, anything more valuable, what you do not have, then appreciation of other person's valuable possession or appreciation of anything praiseworthy of the other person will trigger your smallness. Understand? Will trigger your smallness, and whenever your smallness is triggered, then there will be pain. That pain triggered by, caused by the triggering of smallness, for which other person's praiseworthy, other person's possessions, other person's appreciable things become responsible, then there comes what now? Jealousy comes. Enmity, sort of. But here, the one who revels in fullness, one who has the greatest luxury of reveling in fullness as his own Swarupam, isn't it? That is not the non-losable, non-attainable, everlasting. The fullness, happiness is one's own Swarupam. One who revels in the vision of one's own Swarupam being fullness, such a person, isn't it? Their smallness, nothing can trigger his smallness. Why? There's no sense of smallness. No more. The wise person is free from the sense of smallness, sense of inadequacy centered on I. This is the very important lesson here, okay? The wise person is free from the sense of smallness, sense of inadequacy centered on I. I am small, I am inadequate. Those notions are not there anymore on the part of a wise person. I am small, I am inadequate. Those notions are not there. Why? Because there's no more smallness, there's no more sense of inadequacy centered on I. Because I itself is not there anymore for him. Not there means what? What happened to I? I, has been shifted cognitively from the body-mind complex, resolved in consciousness. Cognitively resolved in. For him, I is not there. I means only consciousness. Therefore, there's no I, identified with the body-mind complex. There's no I. Non-identified, dissociated from body-mind complex. Where is it now? It is resolved in Atma, the consciousness. For such a person who is reveling in fullness, where there is fullness, there cannot be sense of inadequacy and sense of smallness. நிறைவிருக்கிற இடத்தில் குறை இருக்காது, இருக்க முடியாது. Both cannot coexist. Fullness and inadequacy cannot coexist. Understand? Because there is fullness. Where there is knowledge, there is fullness. Where there is ignorance, there cannot be fullness. There will definitely be sense of inadequacy, sense of smallness centered on I. Because this, for the wise person, there is no ahankara anymore. There's only aham Brahma. Asmi Jnanam is there. Therefore, for him, ahankara, what happened? Aham is, there's no smallness, because there's no sense of smallness, there's no sense of inadequacy. Because how can there be sense of smallness and inadequacy where there is fullness? Where there is jnanam, there is fullness. Where there is fullness, there is no inadequacy, there is no smallness. Therefore, there can't be, there's no smallness means, what can trigger this smallness? Nothing can trigger any smallness. Understand? Therefore, there is no enemy also externally for a wise person. Vimatsaraha means one who is free from jealousy or envy, means one who is devoid of jealous and envy, means one who is free from enmity also. The nirvaira buddhi, one who is free from even the enmity. பகைமைங்கிறது ஒன்று கிடையாது. The mind is completely free from enmity. I am an enemy, he is my enemy. Isn't it? Suppose if a friend enjoys, a close friend enjoys something, you won't feel jealous. You may like to have one. Oh, I can also enjoy it. No? But your enemy has, then that it causes a lot of pain in you. So here what happened? The problem is, there can't be enmity for a wise person. Pahaimai, the enmity itself, the vaira buddhi, isn't it? Even the enmity itself is what? Because enmity towards anything in the world is possible if you think that the given object, a given person, a given situation, a given thing is responsible for unhappiness or for your anything which triggers your smallness, and there comes the pain, isn't it? Then you have enmity. And this person cannot have enmity towards anything in the world. The wise person is free from enmity, the wise person free from jealousy, free from jealous, his mind is free. He is no more jealous. He is free from jealousy, envy. Why? Because nothing can trigger his smallness. Why? Because there is no smallness at all for him. There is no inadequacy at all. The person, he is reveling in fullness. நிறைவில் திளைக்கின்றவனுக்கு பொறாமை எங்கிருந்து வரும்? Isn't it? If I think somebody is responsible for my unhappiness, then I can have hatred, I can be angry towards the person, then I can see the other person as my enemy. Isn't it? You cannot say that somebody is my very good friend, I still love him. Understand? Definitely with the way you say itself, we can understand you hate the other person. Which means there is a hatred, isn't it? I tell you, you are not hating the other person. You are hating the pain. You hate the pain which arises in your mind. No, the pain is what? The pain is caused by your problem, your fundamental problem of sense of smallness when it is triggered. Okay? Anything external which triggers your sense of smallness, your sense of inadequacy, which is always there. Don't think, it's always, all of us have, all the human beings have this problem of sense of smallness, sense of inadequacy centered on I, dormant, latent in our subconscious. As long as it is not triggered, we are very, very good friends. And something comes when we, in our transactions, when we get closer and our smallness is triggered, we don't even know that the smallness is triggered. Without your knowledge, and there comes what now? Then that causes pain. I am small. That causes pain. And that pain you can't stand. Dukkham, who likes dukkham? And it is that pain you hate. So hatred towards the pain that is in your own, where does it arise? It is from your own mind, isn't it? Your own subconscious, the pain comes. The pain, who created it? It's already there. Nobody created it. The pain, no, it's only triggered. The pain which is already there is only triggered. The triggering instrument is what now, isn't it? Your small sense of smallness has been triggered, which is also already there. Other person's behavior only triggered your smallness. Finished. And you think other person becomes your object of hatred. You have that vaira buddhi, not diamond buddhi, vairi, enmity towards other person, isn't it? Even it's a sense of that, even the enmity is not possible for a person who revels in fullness. So vimatsaraha. Understand? It's a very beautiful thing. That is why Puja Swami used to give this example. Suppose somebody is praised for something. Yashoda is very, very nice. And suppose really we all appreciate, somebody comes and appreciates, okay? And how nice she is. She's very religious and very pious woman, very polite, very humble, such a wonderful person. She comes here and she does everything and she does so really very kind of her to have done so much for us. And even though our Suhasima came late, she brought, somehow she, in spite of lots of work, she came. So if somebody praises, and I can't stand Suhasima being praised, okay? Yes, what I say? Yeah, Suhasima is very good, no? So she's very, very good. Suhasima, all the work she came. She came. She came, but little late. Why? I had to say but because I had to try to find some small thing, because that is an expression of my pain. Understand? Expression of my pain caused by the triggering of the smallness in me. It's okay now. That is why whenever somebody is praised, we also join them, other person praising, but we'll continue with one word, but. That is what now. We don't even know. It's not a big problem, but still, we can manage afterwards. But no, I didn't mean that now we say. But actually, we don't need to express anything more. We can just be quiet. We can't be quiet. Whenever we talk, that is why Shastram says, the really clearer and clearer and clearer your vision is, you will speak enough. You will speak only if there is necessity. You have to speak. You should not remain dumb all the time. But when you speak only what is useful and if only it is necessity. You will avoid all unnecessary expressions and words will drop. We will speak enough. Which means that is the expression of clarity. Speak enough. Speak less, speak enough, speak appropriate, speak adequate means what? You drop all the unnecessary. It shows how clear your head is, how peaceful you are, how undisturbed you are. It's all expressions of our disturbances. Understand what I'm saying? So here, this wise person is the one who is reveling in fullness. For him, fullness is non-losable, non-attainable. It is Swarupam, which is already there, which has reclaimed, has taken ownership of the fullness as through his knowledge of his Swarupam being identical with Paramatma. Such a person, he's free from sense of smallness. Therefore, smallness is not there for him to be triggered. Therefore, there cannot be any jealous or envy. There cannot be any enmity also on that person, isn't it? The, enmity on the part of that person, where he says, Vimatsaraha. Yadrucchālābhasantushto dvandvātīto vimatsaraha samasiddhāvasiddhau ca kritvāpi na nibadhyate. Then Samaha siddha asiddhau. Siddhau asiddhau cha. Siddhihi here means success. Asiddhihi means failure. Siddhau no asiddhau. Samasiddha asiddhau cha. Is it? Siddhau, siddhihi asiddhihi, success and failure. And siddha siddhau cha means what now? In success and failure, samaha. One who remains the same thing what I have already told you. Now, who is the one who can remain the same in success and failure? The karma yogi makes efforts to remain the same in success and failure. In Dandva Atitaha, there itself, it has been already explained. The same thing. One who remains the same in success and failure means, what does it mean? It is impossible for one to remain the same in all situations, in failure and success. We cannot be balanced at all. In success, we will feel highly elated. In failure, we will feel very, very low, dejected and depressed. And even we go to the extent of killing ourselves because we can't face failure sometimes. Failure is very natural, isn't it? But this person remains no elation, no depression. When the victory comes, success comes, desirable situation is there, there's no elation. An undesirable situation arises, failure comes, there's no dejection, depression. He remains the same means, see, there is no, the wise person is the one who is absolutely successful. Why? The happiest person is the successful person. Who is the most successful person, absolutely successful person is the happiest person. Irrespective of what he has achieved in life, what he has not achieved in life. Okay? You have to understand the concept of success with reference to Shastram. In the light of Shastram, how do you see what success is? Shastram does not deny the other accomplishments as something useless. All one's accomplishments, achievements in life, in terms of academic qualification or positions and possessions, in all those things, really it's very appreciable and praiseworthy accomplishments one may have. But actually speaking, any other success in life is really very good, but it's only relative success. According to Shastram, whatever success, however one is successful. Oh, I have very good children, he's successful. I have very good wife, successful. I have very good husband, successful. My children are highly educated, successful. My children have got very good jobs, very successful. My children now are very well married. Oh my God, well settled in life. I have very good grandchildren, intelligent and bright and brilliant and good looking and rich grandchildren, very successful. And I've got lots of very good names. Wherever you go, everywhere, name is very well known, recognized, successful. Okay, successful means what? You can be, in terms of name and fame and achievements and accomplishments, possessions, one can be successful. People always measure one's success in terms of what all the person has achieved and what all he has contributed to the society. Isn't it? That's true. We have to achieve, we have to contribute. That is true. But all that only comes under the category of relative success. Having accomplished so much also, if there will be dissatisfaction, there will be dissatisfaction. Shastram says, we don't need to ask whether that person will be satisfied. That person also will be still dissatisfied, because dissatisfaction is something natural in ignorance. Understand? Therefore, who is the person who is absolutely successful, happy, who is satisfied? Really speaking, the one who knows one's own swarupam being fullness, one who knows one's own swarupam being identical with Paramatma swarupam, one who knows one's own swarupam being happiness, limitlessness, one whose identity is with Atma Chaitanyam. one who has resolved his individuality in totality, one who has resolved his essence in Paramatma, the consciousness, that person alone is the one who revels in fullness. One who has the vision of the Atma is the one who revels in fullness. One who is reveling in fullness is the happiest person. Why? Because the happiness is not something attainable, not something for him which can be lost also. For whom it is a very swarupam. Such a person is the absolutely successful person. The one for whom happiness is the swarupam, he is the absolutely successful person. Which means that for that person, nothing can shake that person, nothing can make him unhappy. The person who is not dependent on any other external accomplishment, achievements, or any other karma or karma palam, or situations or people for his happiness. Understand? Such a person is the happiest person, independent person, for whom is the one who is absolutely successful. Understand? Such a person, any other success other than discovery of fullness, happiness being one's own swarupam, only relative success. Understand now? Therefore, the person who revels, who is absolutely successful, there is no external success, there is no external, understand? There is no success or failure. Even if there is a relative, there is some success or failure, understand? He can remain the same. A relative success cannot cause any disturbance in happiness, isn't it? Consciousness. A relative failure also cannot cause any disturbance, cannot cause any afflictions. Therefore, siddhau asiddhau cha, you will be unhappy in failure if you are dependent on your happiness for external situation. You would be happy, you think, happy in success also if you think still that success is going to bring you some happiness. Dependence. Externally, emotionally, who is dependent on external world for his happiness, only for that person there is a relative success or relative failure, then he can be either elated or depressed or dejected, isn't it? Whereas the jnani who is absolutely successful is not afflicted by success or failure. There is no such a thing. He is not dependent, therefore he can remain the same unaffectedly in all happy, unhappy situations. So siddhau asiddhau cha samaha. Is it clear? Therefore, samasiddhau asiddhau cha kritvapi na nibadhyate. Kritva api na nibadhyate. This person who is reveling in fullness, who is not dependent on anything for his fullness, who need not do anything for his happiness, but still he is not simply sitting lazy, he is not idle, he is involved in all activities. Kritva api, in spite of doing all his activities also, na badhyate, he is not bound. He is free from karma. He is not bound means he is not the doer, he is not the enjoyer. He is not the doer means what now? There is no tension, there is no stress, and there is no anxiety, there is no worry about there is no concern over the result of action. He is free. He is not the doer, he is not the performer, he is not the enjoyer, because he is performing actions, but he is free from the notion I am the doer. He is free from the notion I am the enjoyer. Understand? These notions have gone, notions have been resolved because of his vision of the self being Atma, the consciousness. Is it clear now? Therefore, kritva api na nibadhyate. Without performing also he is free, Arjuna. But even if you do not perform actions, you will be bound still. Understand? So what Krishna wants to make very clear is, Arjuna wanted to escape from doing his duties. He thought involving himself in activities is will cause pain, and escaping from action will free him from going through that suffering of pain, isn't it? He wanted to escape from sorrow. He thought, if I give up karma, go for jnanam, I can become free from karma. But what Krishna makes it very clear is, karma, the performance of actions, physical activities, is something which cannot be given up at any time. As a brahmachari, as a grasta, as a vanaprasthi, as a sannyasi, there are duties, there are karmas. And as a social being also, whatever is your ashrama, whether you are a brahmana, kshatriya, vaisya, shudra, whatever you are, as there is a karma. The performance of actions never can be given up, isn't it? It has to be, always it has to be there. Even as a wise person, a sannyasi jnani is performing actions, a grihastha jnani is performing actions. It is not the non-performance of actions, it is not the giving up of actions will free you from sorrow, Arjuna. The sorrow will be there as long as ajnanam is there, isn't it? What he wants to make it clear is, it is the notion, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. As long as you have these notions, isn't it, there will be these problems associated with the karma. Karma does not cause problems. Karma associated with the performance of actions, or in the associated with the result of actions in terms of tension, stress, the anxiety, the fear, etc. All this will resolve for good when you are free from the very notion that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. Isn't it? Therefore, it's all the jnanam. So he says, Kritva api na nibadhyate. All these verses repeat one thing. Isn't it? Today you all go home with this. Isn't it? One thing very clearly. They were simply not by simple, I am not the doer anymore. I am not the enjoyer. Some people teach all these things, okay? Some simply sitting like this and closing your eyes and thinking, meditate upon who am I? You'll all get, If you simply meditate upon, ask, I am consciousness. I am consciousness. I am not the doer. I am not the enjoyer. It is not simply saying, prattling, it is simple, without understanding really what the substance of the substantive I is, without really having arrived at, stumbled upon the vastu called consciousness, isn't it? In terms of its swarupam, nature. Understand? With simply saying it yourself is mere prattling, this will not take any distance from where you are. Isn't it? Therefore, Krishna emphasizes repeatedly, it is a cognitive, it is a jnanam. What you need is jnanam, Arjuna. Jnanam is the only thing which will help you. The jnani, after jnanam also, he is performing actions. But that is why, for him, for a wise person, for avatara, for Bhagavan, any action, it becomes leela. Understand, we talk about leela, there's no leela, okay? If your own actions, if you perform all your actions without the enjoyership and doership, with the proper understanding of the self being identical with Paramatma, the consciousness, then your action also will be leela. And you will not think, why only Krishna's is leela? What mine also is leela, understand? And not only you will see yours as leela, you will see the whole jagats, everything also will look like leela only for you. Otherwise, your own action will become a burden, others' actions will also become much heavier burden. Anyway, Kritva api saha na nibadhyate. Panditji, how long we have time? Time, huh? So you all want some 5 minutes break? Sure, okay. Okay, just go for 5 minutes and come back. I just want to know the time, that's all. Gata sangasya muktasya jnanavasthita chetasaha yajñāya charatah karma samagram praviliyate gata sangasya muktasya jnanavasthita chetasaha yajñāya charatah karma samagram praviliyate. Here, samagram karma praviliyate. Liyate means resolves. Viliyate resolves. Praviliyate, prakarshena viseshana liyate, isn't it? He says, all his karma, samagram karma means all his karma resolves for good. There's no sanchitam, there's no agami. All his karmas resolve for good. There's no more karma means there's no more punya papas. There's no need for his exhaustion of punya papa. Therefore, there's no need for even punarjanma. The rebirth itself is possible only if there is a need for the exhaustion of punya papas. The punya papas are, isn't it? The punya papas are there, then there will be a need for exhaustion. The punya papas themselves will not be there. All the punya papas will be resolved for good. Samagram, the entirety, karma in its entirety will be resolved for good. Samagram karma praviliyate. Whose samagram karma will be praviliyate? Whose karma? A wise person, a jnani karma will be praviliyate. Which means the jnani is free from all his punya papas. What happened to all his punya papas? The punya papas are all there, but he is free from punya papas. He did not undo the punya papas. All the karmas he would have done before jnanam, whatever karma he did, all the punya papas must be there. Even now he is doing, the punya papas must be there. What happened to them? They're all there, but he is free from all the punya papas. Which means, if he is free from the notion that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. This bhoktrutvam is not there on the part of a wise person anymore. I am the enjoyer, notion is not there, therefore he is free from all the punya papas. He is free. All of them become resolved for good. The minute you shift you resolve the notion that I am the enjoyer, you are free from bondage of karma. My God. You need not undo your punya karma, punya papas. You don't have punya papas. If you know, you are not the enjoyer. The minute you are free, then you are free from the notion that you are No? Notion that you are the enjoyer, you are free from punya papas. To be free from the notion that you are the enjoyer, you must be free from the notion that you are the doer. For you to be free from these wrong notions you have about yourself, you must have shifted your ahankara, I sense, from the body, mind, sense complex and cognitively resolve the I sense in Atma Chaitanyam, the consciousness. Isn't it? Then it is the shifting of the cognitive shift, isn't it? The shifting of ahankara, I sense, from the anatma, body, mind, sense complex. It's not physical shifting, cognitive shift, isn't it? Intellectually, cognitively, you shift the aham, I sense, from the body, mind, sense complex and resolve it in consciousness. Then you are free from all the wrong notions about the self. When you are free from the wrong notions and you are free from all the punya papas, such a person is what now? Samagram karma praviliyate, for a wise person. And that person is gata sangaha. Now all other words describe a wise person. Gata sangaha. All these words are in possessive case because gata sangasya samagram karma praviliyate. Gata sangasya jnaninaha, for the wise person. This gata sangaha means the one from whom the attachment has gone far away. Means what? The one who is free from attachment. I explained this word many times. The meaning of the word attachment I told you many times. Now, sangaha is attachment, isn't it? Attachment is in fact, you can never give up attachment. It is natural for you to have attachment, to be attached. For which you need to understand what attachment means. See, being emotionally dependent on people or being emotionally dependent on situations, being emotionally dependent on objects, things, for your happiness, being dependent on anything, emotionally dependent on anything external other than yourself, your real self, being dependent on anything other than yourself, anything external, anything other than yourself for your happiness is being attached. It's very important to take care of your physical health. You have to do the needful. But you have to remember one thing. If physical body is subject to fall sick, when it falls sick, you have to do the needful. Okay, but there's limitation also. Do the needful, do appropriately what has to be done. Isn't it? That is doing the needful. But if you're dependent on physical perfect health for your happiness, then you have attachment to the body. Understand? See, having concern and doing the needful is different from being attached. I can be happy only if my physical body is perfectly healthy. Means you are attached to the body. If I can be happy only if my son gets first rank in the class, then you are attached to what now? Your son's first rank, not even your son. So, what is that your happiness is, what are you dependent on for your happiness? That becomes your object of attachment. And if you can ask, then I'll be happy only if my daughter is happy, my son is happy, my son-in-law is happy. I tell you, then you are more attached to your son-in-law than your daughter. Why? Because your happiness is dependent on your son-in-law's happiness. Is it son-in-law? Son-in-law's happiness you are dependent on. Actually, you are dependent on whatever you are dependent on for your happiness. If you are dependent on anything other than yourself, which is external to you for your happiness, Being dependent on anything external for your happiness is called attachment. Understand? This is the definition of attachment. Please understand very well. Whereas the wise person is the only person who is not dependent, who is independent of everything else in the world for his happiness. Why? Because his swarupam is happiness. One for whom the swarupam is happiness. Hardly the doubts might come to you. Why only for the wise person the swarupam is happiness, not for all of us? For your swarupam also is happiness. Everybody else's swarupam is happiness. My swarupam, jnani swarupam, ajnani swarupam, for everybody's swarupam is anandaha. Sarve ananda swarupaha. Isn't it? Sarve ananda swarupaha. All the waves are water. Every wave is water. Isn't it? So all of us are of ananda swarupaha. Isn't it? The swarupam of every one of us is what? Fullness, happiness. But the wise person is the one who has discovered the swarupam being happiness. And we are all the people who have yet to we don't want to say not yet, okay? We have yet to discover the swarupam. We don't want to say we are ignorant, okay? We have yet to discover the swarupam being happiness. And therefore, the person who has discovered his swarupam being happiness is the only person who is not searching for happiness. We can avoid searching, isn't it? Because there's no more a seeker. Such a person is independent. The person who is independent, emotionally independent, understand, is the one who is free from attachment. Emotionally dependent is being attached. Emotionally independent is being, understand now, free from attachment. This person said to be Gata Sangaha. Understood now? Gata Sangasya. Now next, he is a Muktaha. He is a Muktaha. Muktaha, again, I have already explained to you, a liberated person, freed person, which means once upon a time he must have been bound. Now he is no more bound. He is free. Now he is free. What was the cause for his bondage? Limitations? Ignorance. Now what is it which helped him to discover the freedom? So discovering the freedom, discovering the happiness, discovering the contentment, discovering the satisfaction, discovering fullness which is already there as one's own swarupam is what? Attainment of the swarupam. And such a person is free. Muktaha is the one who has discovered his swarupam, is Muktaha. Free from the dependence. So Gata Sangaha is equal to Muktaha. One who is free from attachment, one who is free from emotional dependence for his happiness, anything external, is Gata Sangaha. Okay, free from attachment. And one who is free from attachment is the one who is free from bondage, the Muktaha. Muktaha. And such a person, Jnana Avasthita Chetasaha. Jnana Avasthita. Jnana Avasthita Chetasaha means the Jnana Avasthita Chetas is the wise person. The one whose mind remains steadfast in the vision of the self-being consciousness. The one who remains steadfast in the vision of his self being identical with Paramatma. One whose Swarupam, one who remains steadfast in the vision of the Swarupam being consciousness, which is the Swarupam of Ishvara. Understand? One who remains steadfast in the vision of the absolute reality, the truth. Understand? He is called what now? Jnana Avasthita Chetas. Jnana avasthita chet, which means the one who cannot lose sight of the vision of the truth. One who ever remains rooted in the vision of the truth. It's like, you can say, we are all ocean jnanis, we are all wave jnanis, we are all, why? Because we know the truth. We know the swarupam of each wave, we know the swarupam of the entire ocean, the truth of the entire ocean, all the waves being water. We do see the duality of waves, duality, the division between wave and ocean, difference between wave and ocean. We do see all the differences, no, divisions among all the waves. We do see the plurality, duality, multiplicity, the divisions. We see all this. At the same time, we know it's all relative, experientially, perceptually, they are all there, but absolutely not real. There is no division between wave and ocean. There is no division between wave, and wave. There is no plurality, there is no multiplicity. There is only what? One secondless, non-dual water. Water is the only truth, without which there cannot be ocean, there cannot be waves, isn't it? From the standpoint of the reality, water, there is no division. So, with reference to ocean and waves, we are all what? Jalajnanis. Jalajnanam we have. And then even if suppose the child gets excited about seeing, oh, look at this, the big wave, small wave, jumping wave, roaring wave, noisy wave, and quite silent wave also there, and there is one big wave. We see all these differences. The child gets excited, but you remain calm. Why? Jalajnani. You are not disturbed. A poor child prattles, yet very child. Now, yes, we have to learn, understand the long way to go. Child one day will understand. You remain so calm and you know what is that Jalajnanam. Because even though the child gets excited, you don't get excited. What a big wave, what a small wave, roaring wave, noisy wave, silent wave. Because you do not lose sight of the water, the truth behind all the waves, in spite of seeing the waves and oceans. You see understand? It's called what now? You are all jnana avasthita chetas, means jala jnana avasthita chetas. You don't lose, even though you see the wave, means don't lose sight of the water. You don't need to, oh my God, you have seen the wave, let me search for the water. When you are seeing the wave, when you are seeing the waves, you are seeing the divisions, you are seeing the differences, you do not lose sight of the water at all. Understand? You see the differences, you see the difference, you see the divisions, but you do not lose sight of water, the truth. Isn't it? Like this, a wise person also, by his before jnanam, the contemplation after shravanam and mananam, repeatedly dwelling upon the swarupam of one's own swarupam being consciousness, and dwelling upon the fact of that consciousness being the swarupam of the whole, being identical with Paramatma, the truth of the whole, repeatedly contemplating upon that fact, having understood the fact, contemplating upon the fact, and when he has got ascertained doubtfree vision of the fact, now he cannot lose sight of the truth. He cannot lose sight of the truth. Isn't it called jnana avasthita chetas? One who remains steadfast in the vision of the truth, the swarupam. Which means he may be involved in activities. It's like how? Like what? I'll give you a nice example. Wait. Suppose we're all going together to India. And we all packed up. We had taken all our luggage. And we had gone to the airport. We're waiting at the airport, no? We go, and before we go to the desk first, and we give a tickets and collect our boarding passes and go, and then check in luggage and again then go through all those things. And in between, before going to we have a lot of time and do that shopping there. Do what? So many things you do, and you give money, you take the money back, you count correctly and put the money back. Nowhere you give more. Nowhere you take less also. How much you give, you have to give. How much you take, you have to take. And then even if you lose 1 or 2 pounds and go back, and then you show the bill, immediately you get the money back carefully. You do all these transactions. In between, and you have to tell, please wait, I have to go to toilet also, okay? And make somebody stand and go to the toilet to come back. You are involved in so many activities. But what is the one thing which you do not forget at all? Right from leaving the house, even from the time you started packing, finished packing, you left the house, and after going to the airport, and so many things happen, and until you board, after boarding, throughout all these different activities you are involved in, what you cannot forget is, I am going to India. Isn't it? That one thing, can you forget? Suppose, imagine, when you go and do some shopping at the airport shopping center. Suppose you forget I'm going to India. What will happen? You forget. What will happen? Your bag will go to India. Lost your money, lost your ticket, no more trip to India, isn't it? That is what has happened for us now. Really speaking, how you does not mean when you are shopping, you're so much involved in the shopping. You ask exactly the prices, you look everything, and you also count the money, whether you have given correctly, taken correctly. So engrossed in your activities, so much involved. See, you're involved in all the activities, but still you have not forgotten that you are the main thing, that you are going to India. That is why whatever you do, quickly you go. Isn't it? What I want to say here is, you are involved in so many activities, but you have not forgotten that you are going to India. Isn't it like this? This wise person also is involved in so many activities. Don't think he's a Grihastha Jnani, involved in so many activities. Like how an Ajnani is involved in the activities, the wise person also is equally involved in activities. This is what is that which makes him? What is the difference? It is the jnanam, isn't it? It is the knowledge. It is your knowledge that you are going to India, which you haven't forgotten, isn't it? That helps you to do everything quickly, correctly, properly, and then rush to the aircraft, isn't it? Similarly here also, this wise person is involved in all the activities. All the activities. And householder means how many social obligatory duties. That is, if we are in India, finished. The marriages, condolences, 16 days in Sri Lanka means 31 days. And then, India 16 days and 13 days. And we have marriage means in so many days. See, even now, Vipinji is smiling how things happen in Gujarat, isn't it? So, all the weddings mean so many days, so many activities, and matching horoscopes, and looking for a boy, and calling about the boy, and lots of things, and business, and money, what comes and what goes, where is lost, whether the manager is working properly. So many things may be involved, all the activities the person can be involved. But he does not forget one fact. Aham Atma. Aham Brahma Asmi, isn't it? This vision he cannot lose sight of his Swarupam. First of all, you have to get the vision, then you cannot lose the vision, isn't it? But without having got the vision, we should not lose the vision. Don't say that. We have to attain the vision, isn't it? So this wise person, jnana avasthita chetasaha. Jnana avasthita means what now? His vision is unshakable vision, firm vision. He can never lose sight of his Swarupam being Atma, the consciousness. Such a jnana avasthita chetas. This person is the one, gata sangaha, muktaha, jnana avasthita chetas. Now, understand? One who remains steadfast in the vision of the reality means this is what the meaning. Understand? Even the English expression, remaining steadfast in the vision of the truth, remaining steadfast in the knowledge, means what? Knowledge of what? Understand? One's own Swarupam being Chaitanyam, which is free from, which is of the nature of fullness, which is not dependent on, which is free from dependence, which is free from all limitations. That we should remember, isn't it? Therefore, jnana avasthita chetas yajnaya karma acharan purushaha. Yajnaya karma acharati. This person performs actions. How does he perform actions? Yajnaya. Yajnaya karma acharanam. Yajnaha itself means worship. And yajnaha is also performing anything as an offering to the Lord. Because worship. Not only worship, any action you perform that action as an offering to the Lord. Because what now? Yajnaha. So performing an action as an offering to the Lord means, as a responsible individual, when you perform your actions, not for your happiness, because your Swarupam is happiness. The person does not perform action for happiness, but out of happiness, happily when a person performs, remaining in happiness, remaining steadfast in the vision of happiness when a person performs actions. For the maintenance of universal harmony. Actually, it is my contribution for the maintenance of universal harmony when a person performs actions, not for her happiness. And yajnaya karma acharati. When a person performs, such a person's yajnaya karma acharataha. Yajnaya karma acharanam. I'll come back and explain tomorrow again. But I can complete the verse now anyway. The one who performs actions, as an offering to Bhagavan for the maintenance of universal harmony and out of happiness, isn't it? Happily one who performs, having discovered his Swarupam being happiness, then such a person kritvapina nibadhyate, karma bihi sahana badhyate. All these words mean the same. Thus, only for such a person, samagram karma praviliyate. Understand? Samagram karma praviliyate. When you perform an action for the maintenance of universal harmony, without being dependent on action or fruit of action for your happiness, remaining in happiness, happily with happiness when you perform the actions. Now that, the yajnaya karma acharanam, when you perform, then there's no punyam and papam. I am the doer, the notion is there, then there is bondage. You're free from the notion I am the doer. When you're performing also, you are free. Without knowledge, even if you do not perform the karma, still you are bound. You will be subject to sorrow. You cannot escape from sorrow. This is a very important lesson. Krishna, one important lesson today get is, even if you do not perform physical activities, still you cannot escape from being subject to sorrow, unhappiness. Still there will be unhappiness and sorrow. And even if you perform actions, if you are free from the notion that I am the doer in jnanam, then you understand? You are free from happiness. You're free from unhappiness, sorry. Because happiness is your own swarupam. Understand? So Krishna has to say so many verses to make Arjuna understand. This is a teaching, isn't it? Samagram karma praviliyate. He has no sanchitam, no agami. He is free from prarabdha also. He is free while living. After the fall of the body also he attained videha mukti. There is no punarjanma for him. There is no bondage for him, isn't it? Manayeva manushyanam karanam bandhamochayoho. It is the notion. It is the wrong notion you have about yourself. The bondage is notional bondage. There is no real bondage. There is no real freedom also. Because what is already there is not attainable, isn't it? If the bondage is real, you can never become free from bondage. The moksha is something, newly, it will go again. It won't be permanent. Therefore, the limitlessness, the happiness which you are seeking is eternally there. It is not something to be attained. It is something to be discovered, and it has to be, just taken. You have to take ownership of that happiness as your own swarupam. All that you need is jnanam. It is the wrong notion, Arjuna. Bondage is in notion. I am the doer. I am the enjoyer. These wrong notions you have about yourself. These notions are because of the Atma Jnanam. All that you need is knowledge. Okay? There is this wise person who has jnanam. For him no karma. Samagram karma praviliyate. Kasya purushasya. Kasya. Who samagram karma praviliyate? Now, whose all karmas resolve for good? Who is free from bondage of karma? Gata sangaha muktaha. Gata sangasya muktasya jnana avasthita chetasaha yajnaya karma acharataha purushasya samagram karma praviliyate. Isn't it? It is said here, and the most important verse comes next. We'll start tomorrow morning. What's the time now? Okay. Okay, is it clear now?
Yes.